Ooby-doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast. Today, let me take this off. Today we're going to look at the Canon lens, made in Japan, Canon lens FD 50mm 1:1.4 SSC. That was their designation for, it's called super spectra coating, but it's supposed to be some sort of multi-coating. This has half f-stops from f1.4 to f16. That was for if you had an old-fashioned camera, it would be automatic aperture mode. This is a full-frame lens. It's on a full-frame mirrorless camera, the venerable Nikon Z6. Impressive piece of glass, isn't it? I got this in like new minus condition. Like new minus condition, and it is. It looked brand new. What does it focus down to? 1.5 feet, 0.45 meters. It actually came with a genuine Canon lens hood, which is neither here nor there. It's some sort of flimsy plastic affair, but you know, it works. And it also came with a rear lens cap. This is a dumb lens, so I have a dumb adapter. I'm in manual mode. I went to a town, a city in motion, which is Hackensack, and they actually have a main street there. That's a main street that has it used to be like well, Hackensack is a county seat, a Bergen County, and it used to be, it's still a rich county, and they actually had stores and all sorts of stuff there, and of course, it's all falling to the wayside now, but there's still stores there. And I went there early one morning in the middle of January, and it was like 29 degrees. I got there at 7 o'clock. It was still dark, so I shot a lot of pictures wide open at f1.4, and then I shot some at 2, 2.8, 4, 5.6. 8. I even went down to even lower as the day got brighter. I was shooting at 1600, but then I went to 800, and I even went to some low ISO, like 160. I went to ISO 160 because I still wanted to shoot some pictures wide open, in the shadows or down the street, and I was using the fast shutter speed even then. So this thing performs very admirably wide open. Excellent lens. Does it have a little ghosting? A little bit. Some flare? A little bit. But as soon as you start down to f2 or 2.8 or 4, it's almost perfect. And of course, 5.6 and 8 is the sweet spot. And you can use 11 and 16 in a pinch for depth of field without any worries. And also, let's look at this camera again. You use these cameras as an expensive camera. But let's go to, oh no, I don't want that. I want this thing and this thing. Oh, there we go. Now we go down. I got this quick sharp is one down. This is, I'm going to boost this a little bit. I'm going to go to 6 on that. Mid-range, I'm going to go to 4. Clarity, I'm going to go to 3. I'm going to leave it contrast. I always leave contrast half click down. Okay. That's just the way I shoot now. Of course, this is a pricey lens. See, this is an old-time FD mount because it has the silver ring, as opposed to the new FD mount that has a black ring. The silver ring, first these dumb adapters, you got to push it to open. Then you can turn this ring and it pops off, right? And then you can put it back on, turn the ring, and then you gotta lock it. And that makes the aperture work and the lens doesn't fall off your camera. But the new FD, when you put it on, you twist the whole lens. And then you still have to have it on open or locked depending on what you're doing. And the new FD lenses, Canon went to a lot of plastic to reduce cost and weight. I mean, this is a hefty piece of glass, but it's worth every penny. As far as I can tell, the only non-metal is this rubber focusing ring. So it's a nice piece of glass. Excellent. At 1.4, it's definitely low contrast, but in the center, it's critically sharp in the center like this. And of course, depending on your situation, your corners are going to be a little soft and you have coma and chromatic aberration. But just stopping down a little bit helps a lot in the corners. So imagine, if a crop sensor is this much, everything should be perfect in the center, right? Excellent lens. I highly recommend you go get one. You have to get one. You should. Of course, you could get them in, say, less pristine condition, and they may cost less. This is January 2024. What did I spend? Sort of big bucks for it. But then if you wanted to get a Nikon one, probably costs as much the same. But it's interesting, Pentax says you could get a 1.4 is much cheaper, especially if you want to go screw mount or something like that. You could get them maybe for 1/2 the price or 40% of what this costs. Now, I'm glad I came with this lens hood here. It's a bayonet sort of a mount. There it is. And I use these all the time now. I'm into lens hoods. But the proof is in the pudding. Why don't we just jump into some pictures and you'll see. Of course, I want to use an f1.4, so I did go there early. I wanted to take pictures of the storefronts with their lights on, so I could. This enhances whatever aberrations the lens has, definitely. And you'll see that as a vintage lens, if you want to get one vintage lens for your mirrorless camera, I could recommend this lens to be that lens, without a doubt. Let's look at some pictures. So you buy a fast lens, 50mm f1.4, go out on a sunny day and you stop it down at f11, f16. You go somewhere where it's dark, where you could use it wide open at f1.4. And that's what I did. I went to a City of Motion, which is Hackensack, New Jersey. And I went there before dawn, around the middle of January 2024, and I started blasting away. And Main Street, this is Main Street, it's a wide boulevard. It has to be at least 50 feet across. So I got some depth of field just from being far away. Plus, I tried to stay parallel to these subjects, the storefronts across the street, so I would introduce near and far focusing problems for the lens. Although here is a perfect example. I focus on the storefront, and inside the store still seemed to be relatively in focus. And there's a lot of quaint shops, and they all have like their custom signs, and believe it or not, at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was 29 or 28 degrees, and there are some people out and about. And there's this, different stores with different stuff in them. Like this dress shop, they always have some hot costumes there, some hot mannequins or womankins. I don't know which they are. So I shot a bunch at 1600, and then I went to 800 because it was getting light. And this 1.4 seemed to have a high transmission at high T number. At least I got that impression. Now check this out. This is a crop, right? This is a 1-to-1 crop. So I was able to zoom in on the street and get these lights receding into infinity. This is 1.4. This is across the street. I was rather pleased with this, even though it has some shallow depth of field. You can see the fences out of focus. I focused on the blue isolation stuff they're putting up. Yo, my pizzeria. You can see a little bit of flaring, but not much. I'm very pleased with this lens. It's well behaved. It's highly corrected. This is the situations where we would want to use it. This is a smoke shop, a weed place. Oh, wow, that was psychedelic, man. That place is psychedelic. This is the library. They had some sort of ribbon and bow hanging over their door for the holiday season, which is Christmas and New Year's. This is their sign, the Johnson Public Library. All shot at f1.4, you understand. f1.4, excellent. These guys finally went out of business, so I guess that sign will be gone soon. Here's a look at this. It's a one-to-one crop. Look, it's pretty nice detail there for f1.4, I think. So you never know which shop is going to go out of business, and you come back and it'll be gone. Uh, Now some stores are more famous, franchises. They tend to be around for a while, but still at night you see the different lights and colors and everything. Yeah, I wish I had a girlfriend who could wear a blouse like that and get away with it, but I don't. So, some stores, they must invest a lot of money in their signs. It's like, I don't know what to think. But that's cool. Some stores seem to have been there for a long time too. And, it says you get a corner property, you get to see some sky and, storefront. And it was starting to get bright now. It was like after 7 o'clock, close to 7:30, the sun was starting to brighten up. This is a reference picture I always take, this wood shop here. Now this is amazing. I was amazed at the quality of this lens. And remember, it's on a full frame mirrorless camera too. Sticks is a new place, but they seem to be sticking around. Sticking around. Or a restaurant, they seem to be hanging in there too. But I like their sign, very interesting sign. Now, I guess there must have been some salesmen around to all these towns, and they got the lights. Did you see the street lamps? They have this quaint old-fashioned look, and they have a little circle in it with the company's, the town's first letter in it, with H for Hackensack. I was in Pumpkin Lakes, and they have PL in their little circle. Beck, he's been there for a while, making egg and cheese, and he's open early. He wants to get the people are out and about. Sunday morning, I can need their bacon, egg, and cheese fix. And he's got a pretty fancy neon sign too. Yeah, the Hackensack the Hack, his mural on the side of a building. This is taken at f1.4. It's slightly low contrast, but I'm cool with that. And then I step down to f4 and everything crispens up. And this is all lit mostly by the sky, the rosy dawn, basically. I don't think the sun had come up yet. Polo Mario, he's been there for a while too. He has a definite south of the border look to it. I would imagine if you went to some country in South America, it would look like that. The sidebar has been there for a while. I guess they cater to lawyers and court employees and stuff. Yeah, this is their main government headquarters building. Look at the giant rotunda they got up there in a dome, and they got these fancy statues on the side of the building. And this is a telephoto lens. This is one of those telephoto lenses where you can't get close to something, but you take a picture anyway, and you just zoom up on it, crop a little bit. See that airplane is towards the lower right side. Yeah, this is the dawn. There's some streaks of red. Desolate, sort of like North Korea. I like that. It's a desolation tourism. Otherwise, later in the day is a lot of hustle and bustle and all that implies. And this building had these smeared windows, and it was distorting everything in it. Now, I took this at F8, and look at that, down the street. That's nice. That's a telephoto. It's a telephoto lens. You don't have to put it, no, this is 1.4. Look at that. I did this on purpose. I went to ISO 160, and I just wanted to see what it would do. And it did pretty good. 1.4. Here's another 1.4. Acceptable. Highly acceptable. Now, this, because I have these signs here, doesn't mean that, I'm throwing them a freebie. But here, look, it's 1.4. 1.4. And then you could go back and look at the other one. It was at F8. So F8, 5.6, 4, 2.8, 2, 1.8, and of course f11, f16 is no problem at all. Look at the detail in that. That's amazing. I find that amazing. Nice lens. It's worth every penny. Of course, the camera helped too, but still, you could put a crappy lens on a good camera, and it's going to look like garbage. Or you put a good lens on a bad camera, it's going to look like garbage too. So you got to have both. Yeah, you can see the detail in the cinder blocks there. Excellent. Chicken Magician. Yeah, they've been there for a while. The sun came up, casting these long shadows on the side of buildings, so I couldn't resist taking a picture. Excellent detail. Excellent detail. Fine lens. All right, I bought one. Look at that. I like this this type of long shadow casting at dawn or dusk. So you could spend big bucks for a like new example, and I like to do that. But if you don't mind having a slightly rattier copy that's maybe been used or dragged around some rough corners, then you could get these much cheaper. You wouldn't want to go much below 150 bucks or 100 bucks because then they're pretty ratty. Now, if you get one where the enamel is just like a worn out, or the engravings looks like it's full of dirt, but otherwise it's functioning swell, then sure. I mean, it could have been treated with some respect, but you don't want one that's all banged up and nasty looking. So now I went to the park, right? You got a twofer. We went to the city and we went to the park, so it's a town and country. And it was somewhat colder this day, definitely a couple degrees colder. And it did good because I was in Hackensack, which is a highly urban area, and it's a heat island. Say it was 28, but I was driving home. I was watching the temperature. When I left, it was over freezing. I think it was like 33 degrees. So as I was driving home, I was watching the temperature drop back to 28. But the lens was in my car. I had the heater on. I went to the park. I had to take the camera out, walk around. Here's a perfect example of 16, 1/8 of a second. Got to get my long exposure water, flowing pictures in. Obligatory. But it did good. I mean, yeah, I like ice. Look at these ice pictures that came out. I mean, just the detail looked good. And here I was shooting into the sun, although some clouds were starting to block the sun, but I was still shooting to where the sun was, and it was very bright. I thought I handled this really well, really well. And I think a good job on these mulberries because, they're small and tiny, and, they test the system, both the lens and camera. Now, I have this pet peeve about ancient astronauts came down and built these walls, and let's face it, look at your fellow citizens, people at work, seen a store, wherever you go, and they actually would spend time building this. No, they wouldn't. They'd tear it down in a second if they could, but they wouldn't build it. So ancient astronauts came down in their spaceships, and they traveled interplanetary, interstellar distances, maybe even intergalactic, and they built their base millions and billions of years ago. And now the ruins are just left there. All master man. All he wants to do is look at his cell phone. He doesn't want to do anything else. So there's plenty of ice abound. Now I used the f4 on purpose because I wanted to blur out the background so we could check out the bokeh. And it looked pretty good to me. And then patterns of ice. I love ice in all its shapes and forms. Here's another perfect example of the workmanship of ancient astronauts. Just think, they puzzle pieced all these stones together. You think some guy's going to stand there and sort them out and align them like that? No way. This is a one-to-one crop in auto just colors. This is a one-to-one crop. I just want to show the detail you would get at something that was closer to infinity. Oh, that's another thing. This lens focus passes infinity on the adapter, so you got to keep that in mind. No hard stop infinity. but still the bottom dollar is get this one if you could get it.